Hello, hello. Welcome to our post-Thanksgiving lunch and learn. I'm going to be your host, Gregory Goldson, followed by myself again tomorrow. Jared is going to take over for Wednesday, and then Jeremy will be leading Thursday's lunch and learn. So please come on in. Also, once again, check out the Solutions Marketplace. It's pretty cool. And you can also look into the apologize. You can also look into the decisions forum where we have a lot of your questions most likely answered already. So as people come on in here, please feel free to put your questions into the Q&A, and we will be glad to go over them. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving if you're celebrating that. I guess in the meantime, while we're waiting here, I can go over something I've been working on. So in decisions, we have what's called a health score, right? It shows it over here, and if you jump into the details, sorry, let me back up a little bit. The health score is an unweighted score of every designer entity in your project that you've created, and it gives you kind of a general idea of how healthy the project is overall, according to either functioning properly and good decisions practices. So if I were to go into the details here, I've only created one rule and one flow in this project so far, so we're only going to see those show up. But you can see that when I jump into this, not to edit it, but if I drop this down, it gives me a list of what it's looking for here to verify whether the project, or in particular that entity, is healthy or not. So you want to make sure that none of your unit tests fail. Make sure you actually have unit tests. Make sure that you give the statement rule a good name, give it inputs, right? Make sure those are set up properly. Make sure that it doesn't have any validation issues when you're still working through it. And provide a descriptive description. The flow will even give you more. I should mention there are three different categories, by the way: maintainability, performance, and security. These are the three types of categories that you will see when you are working with the health score project. This is an unweighted average of every single designer entity that you have in here. So even, I should mention that even if one flow is absolutely huge and you have one tiny little rule that's just checking true or false, this will be weighted with the same importance as this. So keep that in mind when you are designing your decisions environment. I'll continue to work on this, and in the future, you guys should see a video uploaded discussing all the little intricacies about this. For example, if you go into the description, you can see that it has a scale of 0 to 100 in increments of 5. Every word you put in your description adds 5 to this percentage, meaning that you need to have at least 20 words to reach 100. Just all the little details like that we'll be going over. So let's check our Q&A right now. Still not seeing anything yet. So I can work a little bit more on this and show you some of the other things that can come up. Let's jump into our healthy flow, shall we? So coming into here in the healthy flow, I have a simple function that is going to add 5 years to whatever the current date time is and output it, whatever that 5 years in the future date is. That is all this flow is doing. Here, oh, hold on. Oh, Robert. Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. Wow, I didn't even flip it over. Apologies. Let's see. Let's try this again. All right, now you're in the decisions environment. I am so sorry about that. I'll start it from the top just to make sure that it's very clear what is being described here. So, inside of decisions, you can create a whole bunch of different projects, and every project it's going to have its own unique health score, which is indicated in this bottom right corner here in this overview page of the projects. So I'm going to go into this one here called Health Score Shenanigans, and this is where I am messing around with different things that can affect the health score. So for example, if I go to info, here is my overall health score, 87%. And when I go into the details of this, you're going to see I only have two entities, designer entities, within my project. I have a rule and I have a flow. My rule just checks a Boolean value of whether an account is active or sorry, whether an account is able to use the portal or not. That is all this rule is doing. And here I have a flow that I will jump into now that is taking the current date time, adding 5 years to it, and outputting it to the flow. Here I have a catch exception step, even though you can't really have one in this flow, and a log step, right? So there are a lot of different little details that you can find contribute to this health of the project. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So here, for the rule, you don't usually have as many as you do in a flow. Obviously, that can be changed depending on the size of your flow or the size of your rule. But here I have the overall score of 87%. My rule accounts for 85, my flow accounts for 89, and this is the unweighted average or the unweighted mean of all of your designer entities that you would have in your project. So the unweighted mean of their health scores, right? So we have 85%, 89%. Here's what's contributing to a healthy flow because there are a lot, right? So you have three different categories: maintainability, performance, and security. These are the three different types of things that you can be scored on. I don't have any unit tests in this flow, so it's giving me a 0 in that department because I don't have any set up. I also don't have a long enough description for this flow. As you can see, my description is 40. This increments by 5 for every word that I add to the description. So once I add 20 words, 5 times 20, I get 100%. So I would need to increase my description to get this healthy. Also, the step names in the flow. If you just have the default names and you aren't changing them, that is not usually the best practice to have, just so that you can have a better idea of what each step is doing in your business model, in your business flow. So here I've called this add years 1. I'm just going to call it add 5 years, all right? In this log step right here, I'm going to change the name to log impossible error because you actually cannot get an error from this with the input unless you somehow find a way to input something that is not a date time. In fact, it doesn't even take inputs, right? So let's save this. And now if I back out and go back to my info page, you'll see it increased, right? But here, when you increase one, you can also sometimes change another one. I've increased this to 80%, but it's still not at 100. I still have the catch exception step, which I didn't rename. So this is a good way to be able to kind of experiment with what's going on in your project. I will be releasing a video on this at some point that is going to discuss all these little minute details of how the project health is calculated, its use, when it's important to, keep it near 100. Some things are just not going to have that. For example, you may have a subflow, right? That's part of a larger flow. And you may have the catch exception step in the larger flow to catch all of the types of exceptions that you want, which may be proper error handling for your process, but that subflow may be looking for error handling that just isn't showing up here. So that's how that works. Still not seeing any questions yet today. Guess it might just be a pretty slow day. I mean, I can keep discussing the health score if y'all would like. I've got no problem with that. But if y'all have your own questions you want answered, that's why we're here. So let's create a report. We can investigate all the stuff that the reports do. So I will call this the account report, and we'll make our data source the account. I like using this one because it has a lot of varied data fields. Ah, Robert, mine is a long one. Keep discussing this in the meantime. It is interesting to know, is this only in version 9? Yes, currently the health score has only been added to Decisions version 9. There may be the health score in future versions of Decisions, but in no previous versions of Decisions has this feature been added. There is not a lot of customizability with it at the moment either. So that would be something to consider when setting this up. But I was gonna say, Robert, if I it's only you and VT in the room, so if you do have a long question, we're all ears, you know? I'm not seeing anyone put theirs out yet. So let's see here. We have account ID. Actually, I'm just gonna remove that. I just want the email address. And we'll also have the can use portal, yay or nay. All right. And now if we go back to our health score, we should see the report in here, which is at 88%. Everything's fine, right? We don't have any filter set up. We have a source set up for it. We're not using flow inline fields. In fact, the use of flow inline fields makes the score go down because they are usually pretty unperformant. And Robert, I do see that right there, what you're saying. So let me unmute you, and we will be glad to assist. All right, you should be able to talk now.
Oh, okay. I was muted as well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, first off, let me just say this. This is an older version of decisions
All right.
issue, or not, maybe not mute issue, just a question. I am working on migrating a client's data from their version 6 environment to their version 8 environment. And
Okay.
we're not migrating everything entirely, mainly just we're creating a new data type that can, handle like or carry all their important information that they want so they can just view it all on reports. Just has a
Mm.
basic way to keep a trail. And so what I'm doing is we've created this data type that it has a copy of their main data type as like just the structure, and we just copy one to one for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also a list of another database structure that is taking information from any of the associated assignments with that entity. So we're just,
Mm.
creating a list of what that assignment's name was, start date, end date, who completed it, and just those minor information for the assignments. Um, which that's totally easy. Gotten that completely taken care of. I have a few working test copy records. Um, my what I'm working on now is creating a dashboard with like trying to do a parent-child report. So it'll show the names of all the um, copy records, and then when they click on one of those entities, it'll show the associated assignments with that one.
Mm. Okay.
But I'm not sure if that works since that's a custom database structure within the main parent. Um,
Okay. I get what you're saying. So what you're trying to do is you want basically a child parent report filtering where when you select a particular item in the here, let me save this unique data type real quick just so we can kind of give a more visual example for this. So I'm just going to call the unique data type the old one that got migrated over, okay? And then you're creating a new data type, right? So this is I'll call this tracking old data, right? And then that type right there is going to be a your unique data type, right?
yep.
And you said a list of assignments?
Yeah, so that would be that. And then this one is, so I created a new here, basically. And basically it's another just data, its own database structure.
This is
Uh,
its own database structure. I see.
yes.
Okay. And this one is, and the assignment, is that like the assignment entity type, or is that a like your business logic kind of assignment?
It is associated with the assignment type, like assignment record. So
Okay.
like if you go into a normal process folder and you look at all the assignments,
Mm,
it's kind of that kind of information, but it's just not an actual assignment type. It's just
gotcha. All right. So what you need to do is to be able to filter by clicking on one of these tracking old data, and you want the assignments
so
to show up or
yeah, just
the,
the associated ones. Yeah.
okay, just the associated assignments in a list that all have this other list. Ooh, interesting. Let's see here. What is a good way to do this? I'm going to
That's,
import a project real quick because this already has the configuration set up. So if you'll give me just a moment, this will be
yeah, no
pretty
worries.
quick.
'Cause I've done parent-child reports before, but this one's a little bit more complicated. So I just haven't been able to figure it out.
Right, right. Yeah, no, this is I'm so with you. This is not as straightforward as just pulling in a field that's in both of them, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking for it. I've already got it downloaded here. I'm just taking me a moment to find it.
Weird thing is that when I do like the parent report, it doesn't even have the like assignment list as a field type to put into the report. And I don't know if that's just because it's a separate type, its own data type,
Right. That
or
that wouldn't be. That makes sense that it's not, honestly. Hold on, I'm searching for it. I know I downloaded this recently, so hold on. It's called Example Lab. Sample Lab, parent-child report. Got it. Yeah, override all that stuff. We're just gonna move it in here. The way that I would think to do this would be to have, so every single one of these is going to have its unique database ID, right?
Mhm.
The way I would think to handle this is for the old tracking data. Here, I'll create the assignment one. All right, I'll call it assignment. Assignment. I'm assuming there's more fields than just the assignment type in here. I'm assuming there's going to be more stuff. Um, I'll call these sub assignments. And
Yeah, it's
then,
basically just start date, completed date, assignment name, state, that basic, just the very top level stuff.
mm, okay,
But
so
yeah.
I'll put start date just to kind of get a better idea of
Hmm.
what's going in here, and this will be a date time.
Yeah, and they're all just strings or date times.
Okay, I was thinking if you had one string in here that had parent ID.
Mm.
Yep, then you can just use a report that filters out, right?
Yeah,
You can we'll go into the actual reports here. So I'm not sure where we have copies of these, but account data source, right? This is the accounts filtered by child report, and you have the account ID equals, and you get value from other report, right?
yes.
All right, cool. So you get the value from other report, and then should be called. Let me check. Let me
I
check
think
to.
whatever you put the
Exactly.
that
So
column as the
account
SIN
ID, and then this is going to set it as,
ID equals, right?
where is it?
Right down at the
Um,
bottom of your scroll right now. SIN data as
Yep,
filter
sent
change.
that. That's it. Exactly. Account ID equals, right? And then it equals that account ID that you're passing in right here. So filter change source name is account ID equals. Yep. Perfect. So if we were to do that with your data type and you had that structure in sub assignments, right? If you had that parent ID, you could do the exact same thing and you'd have that ID automatically created from your
Initial,
unique
yeah.
data type, right? So
Okay.
that would be the way that I would try to pass on the report. Then you don't have to worry with like trying to link it in together or anything like that. You're just simply having another field and you can filter it by that field.
Okay. So yeah. So since they don't have any matching fields, create the matching field.
Exactly.
Got
Just
it. Okay. No, that makes sense.
yeah, and that seems like a pretty performant solution to that rather
Yeah,
than
no,
trying to tie it
that
in
should
some
work.
other way.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Cool, cool. Then I'll spend a few more minutes talking about this while we're waiting on questions. And if no one has another question in that time, we're just gonna end this one early. I think it's the post-Thanksgiving mood right now. People just getting back, filled, happy, not really feeling like doing a lot. So we can make that health score 100 by going into more, set name and description, and it has to be at least 20 words. All right, this is a report of the account data native data type. It contains the account email address and an indication if the let me review of whether the account can use the decisions portal or not. Well, that is well over 20 words. So if we go back into our info now, go into details, you should see that the description for some reason didn't update. Let's recalculate that. There we go. You have to do that on your own sometimes. So now our overall health is going to be 90. And I'll bring a calculator over here to give you a little bit more insight on how this is actually working. So first of all, it's an unweighted average, right? So we can do 85 plus 87 plus 100, right? And we got three of them, so we're going to divide it by three. And this is a truncated project health, not rounded. So it's just going to cut off any decimals that follow it. So your 90% just comes from these two different digits right here. So even though this account report has definitely more in it than this, it is weighted the same. So that is how Decisions is going to track it. Now, I do say it's unweighted, right? That is, everything's weighted equally. But let me create another flow, all right? And this is going to be a really simple flow. I'm just going to call this simple flow. I'm just going to connect the start to the end, save it, and then go back to our health score, right? So now I have simple flow that's at 84%, right? It's liking everything there so far, but you might notice we're still at 90% here, right? So let me show you what's going on with this and why we're still at 90. Where did my calculator go? Because that's important. So if we do the same method we did before, we're going to have four entities, right? So we got 84. Can you see the calculator on my screen? Can someone confirm that that's actually pulling up? Because I'm dragging it to it. I just want to make sure that people can see it.
I see it.
Cool, cool. Thank you very much. So we have 84 plus 85 plus 87 plus 100, and then we divide that by 4. We get 89, not 90, right? So what's going on here? The problem is that I mentioned it's unweighted. It's unweighted per category, not per each individual flow. So far, I had done something different every time. So this entire category was represented by that one flow. But if I have two flows, one that's at 84% and one that's at 87, my average is 85, and this is what's being weighted in calculating the project health, is every category itself in unweighted manner. So 85 plus 85 plus 100 is 270. You divide that by 3, you get 90 on the dot. So just for example's sake, let's clear that. You get 85 plus 85 plus 100, right? And then you divide it by 3 and you get 90. That's where the score comes from. It's from these unweighted categories, which can be deceiving. Because let's say you have 50 flows and two rules. Your two rules weigh just as much as your 50 flows do, right? Because it's just going to take whatever their overall average is per that category and then average that together by taking the mean. So it's important to keep that in mind when you are using Project Health. At least currently, as of decisions version 9.4, that is how the Project Health operates. And I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we may just call this one early. Going once, going twice, and thank you all for coming very much. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.